$99.99.
In Florida, a young girl undergoing several surgeries after a shark attack in shallow waters while snorkeling in Boca Grande. ABC's Morgan Norwood has more on the anxious mother who was talking to responding officers after this week's attack.
Leah's mother thankful her daughter survived.
To go.
I'm just happy she's alive.
Oh, yeah, me too. And she seems very strong, she's holding herself together very well.
Her mom sharing this update on Instagram, showing Leah in her hospital bed, praising God and the doctors, writing, Leah had a very long surgery to save her hand, and doctors were able to get blood flow to her entire hand and all of her fingers.
Consumer sentiment increased in June for the first time in 6 months, but there are still concerns about delayed price hikes due to tariffs. Shopping expert Trey Baj says that's leaving a lot of people a bit unsure when they head out to stores.
Consumers don't know what's going on, and they don't know what to expect and what to plan for. There's a recent AARP poll that found that 73% of consumers are worried about prices rising faster than their income.
Measles cases in the U.S. nearing 1,200 confirmed cases across 34 states. The CDC says there were 29 new cases just from last week's update. This year's numbers nearing a 30-year record level. 95% of cases this year nationally have been unvaccinated, or the unvaccination status is unknown. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
4:05 now on this hot Friday afternoon. I'm Will Feelite with your KBNU News headlines. A 35-year-old man with a lengthy criminal history was arrested yesterday for allegedly breaking into a school building and barricading himself inside an office. Christopher Lyndon Thurston was booked Thursday morning into the Cache County Jail. Now, according to Logan City Police Lieutenant Brooks Davis, officers responded to a report of an unauthorized individual who had entered Hillcrest Elementary School yesterday morning at about 8:30. Now, as law enforcement arrived on the scene, they set up a perimeter and attempted to make contact with the individual, later identified as Thurston. He allegedly attempted to avoid contact by getting on the school roof. Now, Davis said officers were eventually able to engage Thurston and safely take him into custody. Now, according to court records, Thurston has multiple convictions for burglary, theft, and other charges in Salt Lake, Farmington, and Manti. In other news, an 80-year-old woman killed earlier this week and another woman seriously injured after a large tree branch fell on them at a park on Wednesday afternoon in Boxelder County. Emergency crews say they were called to Perry Park just before 5 o'clock on June 11th following reports of a traumatic injury. Now, when police officers arrived, they found that a large tree branch had fallen on two women, an 80-year-old and a 28-year-old. Paramedics attempted life-saving measures on the older woman, but she died at the scene, while the 28-year-old was transported to Brigham City Community Hospital with serious injuries. Now, first responders said that they were heartbroken over the tragic loss of life and gave their condolences to the families affected. And a West Valley mother is facing a criminal charge accusing her of leaving her infant son in a car for nearly 2 hours with the windows mostly rolled up and the vehicle not parked in any shade. Leonara Tioa, a 29-year-old, was charged yesterday in 3rd District Court with aggravated child abuse. Now, police report they were called to an area in South Salt Lake back on June 4th on report of an infant who was crying inside a locked vehicle. Now, a passerby had noticed the boy, who was later determined to be a 10-month-old, crying and kicking in a rear-facing car seat. Now, it was also noted that the car was not in any sort of shade, had direct exposure to the sun. When police were able to get inside the car, the temperature inside was around 102 degrees. And it's going to stay hot over the next couple of days as we check that weather forecast. As we've been in the high 80s today. Tonight, Going to see temperatures drop into the mid-50s, then low 90s coming for tomorrow, 93 for Father's Day Sunday, before we'll see temperatures cool down a little bit next Tuesday and Wednesday, but then Thursday could see temperatures around 95 degrees. Still, you look at temperatures, we're about at least 10 degrees above average for this time of year. And weather this hour brought to you by Quality First Insurance. If you're confused about coverages for your employee benefits package, call Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. He has the options to take care of you and your business. 752-0101 for Quality First Insurance. And I'm Will Theoright with your KVNU News headlines.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
S.E. Needham Jewelers has been helping couples celebrate their anniversaries for more than a century. When you present her a piece of diamond jewelry in an S.E. Needham box, it says you are committed to taking care of her forever. We absolutely stand behind our jewelry, our prices, and our service. We always have and always will. This anniversary, give the gift of diamond jewelry. A diamond from S.E. Needham Jewelers says that you plan on being there for the rest of her life, just like we will be. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News, tracking the developments in the Middle East as tensions escalate between Israel and Iran. What role will the U.S. have? Also, how businesses can protect themselves from violent protesters like in Los Angeles. Plus, how free shipping is falling away in the midst of the tariff war, and why airlines are all starting to feel the same. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Friday, June 13th. Coming up on the show today, an extended For the People movie show again. Andy Morgan joining us a bit earlier than 5 this week. We've got a lot of catching up to do and a lot to talk about for the summer movie season officially underway, well, for a few weeks now. And it's just one after another, well, two after another every weekend from here until the end of July. So summer movie season, both catching up, what's in theaters this weekend, and a bit of a preview in an extended For the People movie show today starting around 4:30. So before that, we have a lot to talk about in the headline world. Senator Mike Lee has revived a proposal that was originally in the House version of this budget reconciliation bill that was stripped from the House version after pushback and public outcry here in Utah and in Colorado and Montana and Nevada. Basically every western state, their congressional representation heard about this when Utah Representative Celeste Malloy first tucked it into the House bill. Senator Mike Lee is now taking it, reviving it for the Senate version of the bill and expanding it. What is it? Well, it's basically a proposal to sell off millions of acres of public lands. The original version in the House bill that Celeste Malloy tucked into the bill. And again, I just want to go back to this. I know it almost sounds trite and cliche, but this is a budget bill. Yesterday, we talked about Utah lawmakers and the governor pushing back against a rider that was attached to the budget bill, also in the House a few weeks ago, that would ban states from regulating artificial intelligence, something Utah has already embarked upon a couple of sessions in a row. And no one asks, but why is this in a budget bill? This is policy. This should be a standalone bill that gets its own debate and its own vote, but they hide it. And this happens with the National Defense Authorization every year, too. Basically, you have these bills that must pass. A budget has to pass. Well, I mean, sometimes they don't, but according to the rules, a budget has to pass. And the National Defense Authorization, no one wants to be on record refusing to fund the military. And so these are considered must-pass bills. And so everyone tucks their little pet issues into these. So Celeste Malloy heard about it and really got some pushback from a fellow Republican in the House from Montana, former Interior Department Secretary in the first Trump administration as well, Ryan Zinke. He said this is a horrible idea, and the provision was removed from the bill. Senator Mike Lee is bringing it back and even taking it further in the Senate version of the bill. We'll talk about what his exact proposal is and its likely future coming up just a few minutes. Before we get to that, though, this is a time of year when, I mean, it's a few weeks early, but it's a time of year when we really kind of have to start taking this seriously. And I never did take heat and extreme heat warnings that seriously. And you don't when you're younger, right? Because a little heat stroke just kind of rolls off of you when you're in your 20s and even 30s. But take this seriously. After I experienced my first real episode, I guess you'd say, of heat stroke at 35, I decided, this is not something to mess around with. As Will mentioned in the news break there, we're about 10 degrees above normal for this time of year, and we haven't hit our extremes yet. We haven't set any records yet, but we may next week. We might see it creep up into the mid-90s next week. We're looking at around 90 through the weekend. We're currently sitting at 87 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 4:15 in the afternoon. And this is not just for the elderly and the young. This is, by the way, that news story in the ABC News break, too. Just don't. I've seen 3 cars this week, one with a child and 2 with dogs, sitting in a parking lot, idling with the air conditioner on. And I get it. Sometimes maybe you don't have a choice. Maybe you've got to just run quickly to the grocery store or convenience store. But I'm telling you, should your engine stall or that air conditioner go out while you're in that store and you're in there even for 15 minutes, you're coming out to a family tragedy. It's that big of a deal. So don't. Don't leave the kids in the car, even with the AC on. Leave the dog home. Even with cracked windows, even with really cracked windows almost all the way down, that vehicle is still 10 degrees warmer than the temperature outside. And the temperature outside right now is unhealthy to be exposed to for long periods of time. So just don't. And again, I've seen it 3 times this week just here in Cache Valley. 3 cars idling outside of a store. And this is even leaving out the unnecessary emissions you're dumping into our poor air quality in both winter and summer times here in Cache Valley. So just don't. It's just, to be blunt, a very dumb idea. So back to the temperatures. Logan City officials are warning residents that daytime temperature forecasts in the 90s and mid 90s, near 90s and 90s this weekend and into the mid 90s early next week. So they're advising people to kind of wake up, as we have to do every year. It's like wintertime driving. The joke is, the first snowstorm, everyone's a dangerous driver every year. And then we acclimate, we remember how to drive in snow. Kind of the same thing with this. We're coming out of the cold winter months, and the cool spring months, although we were kind of shortchanged on those cool spring months this year. They quickly turned into summer, right? And we take a bit to acclimate, and you kind of forget that it's always on your mind mid to end July, early August, when it just feels that hot. When you step outside and your body says, "Oh, I shouldn't be out here long," but we're there already, and it's easy to forget. So and it's really simple to avoid heat stroke, honestly. It is, of course, most dangerous, statistically speaking. Now, this is not an absolute. This doesn't mean if you're not in these age groups, you're bulletproof, because you could have other conditions, both medical and otherwise, that change this for you individually. But generally speaking, statistically speaking, extreme heat is most dangerous for those over the age of 65 and children under 4. But again, certain existing medical conditions, including blood sugar issues, not even full-on diabetic, but if you, for example, if you're working with your doctor on getting your A1C down, if that's where you're at medically, heat is a different thing for you. So is extreme cold, but extremes in general. This is something to take seriously, because it doesn't take long. And according to Utah Department of Health, 47 people died from just heat-related stress, illnesses that developed and hospitalized them in most cases, that were entirely triggered by heat and prolonged exposure to heat. So 47 people in the last 5 years have died from just heat. That doesn't sound like a lot over 5 years. More people have died on our highways, in those 5 years. But this falls into the 100% preventable category. There are so few conditions that can lead to a didn't have a choice, hyperthermia, heat stroke, or dehydration, illness, and death. And 100% preventable. Even back to our highways, even on the highway, someone could tragically lose their lives because of unforeseen weather conditions or an accident. When it comes to heat stroke, no such thing. 100% avoidable. But there are some things to look out for, and that's what Logan City is kind of raising awareness of. Again, back to this being most or highest risk for those over the age of 65 and children under the age of 4. Logan City officials remind that there are many people in the city that can't afford air conditioning or just don't have air conditioning. Maybe they're renting and air conditioning wasn't included as one of the amenities. It can leave them in a situation where even in just their home, they can be exposed to heat that is not healthy to sleep in. So keep an eye out for each other. And if you have neighbors who are elderly, check in on them. Make sure that they're okay, that they're able to take precautions. And again, 100% of preventable heat stroke. But even worse, it is 100% very easy to prevent. Proactively drink water. Don't wait until you're thirsty. Now, don't overhydrate. That can actually increase your risk of stroke. But proactively drink. Drink on a regular basis. Drink a full glass on a regular basis, once an hour, every couple of hours throughout the day. If you are unable to get away from these high temperatures for any reason, drink more water than you normally do. Definitely. Avoid alcohol, liquids containing large amounts of sugar, energy drinks. People don't think about this. If you are hot and thirsty, the worst thing you can consume, if your body is telling you need hydration, that's what being thirsty is. It's your body saying there's not enough water in this machine, like a car engine we're running with too little antifreeze that's about to overheat. That's what thirst is. When you feel thirsty, your body is saying there's not enough liquid in here. We're going to overheat. Drink something now. And the worst thing you can drink is a soda or an energy drink. It might be cold, and the cold might be refreshing, but it is not hydrating you. It's actually doing the opposite. So drink water, something with electrolytes. Here's one little tip as well. I know the electrolyte drinks are fun, and they have flavors in them, so sometimes it's more appealing than water. I've been on lengthy backpacking trips in which you don't think this will happen to you, but just the thought of one more sip of plain water is disgusting because you've been drinking so much of nothing but water for a few days in the outback of Yellowstone or something like that. So that was, by the way, the first time I ever tried and like Tang, because it was just different, but it was still water basically. Those hydrating drinks, the electrolytes, the drink mixes, all of that, they can help. They can add to the water, but this is also worth knowing. Water itself has plenty of electrolytes in it to do the job. So if you don't have to run down and buy the liquid IV or the Gatorade Light and all of those. Just plain water has electrolytes in it too, and enough to do the job. But again, this is a really important advisory, and Logan City officials also recommend you have a weather app on your phone. They'll often alert you of extreme heat conditions and warnings, because sometimes the forecast is off, and it's off in a way that we end up closer to 100 than 95. And plan around that as well. If you're going to be out, maybe you've got some family events planned this weekend, camping or going over to the lake or the reservoir, something like that. Recognize that these are temperatures that here's the thing about heat stroke. If you are out in the heat long enough, you get heat stroke. It's unavoidable. But staying cool, staying in the shade, if you do start to experience heat stroke symptoms, and you'll know, if you do start to experience that, the faster you can cool down, the better. And it's very easy to avoid in the first place. But if you can't avoid it, or if you don't avoid it and something goes wrong, something happens, the extreme symptoms of heat stroke are actually confusion and even seizures. But a person may also become agitated, a little irritable. When your skin feels hot, even if you're not in the direct sun, and over sweating, profuse sweating, it's just running off of you, that's actually a symptom of heat stroke. That is your body trying desperately to cool itself down. Mild to extreme nausea, actual vomiting, an extreme headache, flushed reddish skin, and then your breathing and heart rate pick up. Your breathing starts to, because your body again is trying to use your normal oxygen intake system to actually expel heat. So you'll have an involuntary urge to basically almost hyperventilate. It's a really unpleasant thing. If you do run into someone that's confused, has slurred speech, a little delirious, loss of balance, get them into the shade, somewhere cool, a cool rag or something on their forehead to try and cool them down in any way you can, and give them liquids, of course. If they don't kind of respond quickly, do call 911, because eventually heat stroke can lead to seizures, coma, and even death. So heat stroke is life-threatening if it isn't stopped. So if you see signs of heat stroke, call 911 or any local emergency number, and get that person into the shade or a cool area as quick as possible. So there's your annual heat stroke reminder. It's a serious thing. Again, when you're younger, you don't think about it because you do get heat stroke. You just don't, it doesn't bother you that much, so you don't care, like many things when you're young. But as you hit middle age and even older, you start to feel it. And a few years ago, I had my first experience with heat stroke. It set on quickly. It was simply I was out in the sun and the heat for too long and hadn't been drinking enough water, hadn't been stepping into the shade to cool off as often as I probably should have been. And it hit me like a sledgehammer, and it was ugly. So don't let it happen to you. 100% avoidable. And again, heat stroke left untreated, if you don't get out of the heat, if you don't cool your body down, it is fatal, even if you're not over the age of 65 or under the age of 4. So take it seriously, but also go out and have fun, because there's a lot of cool stuff to do out there right now. We'll be back with more For the People right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
I went the traditional medicine route, and it was not tailored to me. It was just a one-size-fits-all. It was, this is how you do the program, and it's probably not going to work. That's what everybody always told me along the way, and somebody told me about Red River. They brought me in, they did testing, and everything was catered to my body and what I was actually experiencing, which was incredible.
At Red River Health and Wellness, our whole goal is to identify the underlying mechanisms driving your condition. Once we identify those imbalances, then we'll put a treatment plan together that's specific to you, and then we improve those imbalances one by one, and then slowly teach you and educate you and show you what to do and what not to do so that you're the expert in your own health long term.
I'll never forget the day I woke up and I went about my day and I stopped and I said, I feel completely normal. It really, truly not only helped me save my thyroid, but it gave me my life back.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
Daryl's is your local Wolf, Sub-Zero, Thermador, and Cafe appliance dealer. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. We have been authorized dealers for over 45 years and have the best prices, including builder pricing and instant rebates on new builds and remodels. When Daryl's installs your Wolf and Sub-Zero appliances, you qualify for an extra year on your warranty. Call, text, or drive out for a free consultation with one of our experts. Top-of-the-line appliances deserve top-of-the-line service. Only at Daryl's Appliance, west on Airport Road.
Summer is here, and so are the extra loads of laundry. John at the Duct Hunter says with the kids home, your dryer is working overtime. Make sure it's running efficiently by having your dryer vent cleaned. You'll enjoy faster drying times, better energy efficiency, and a longer lifespan for your dryer. Call the Duct Hunter today for a free quote, 435-770-4813. Breathe easier, dry faster, save more.
Monday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We will break down the absolute latest on the ongoing battles in the Middle East as Israel has struck Iran. We will also give you the latest on the big, beautiful bill as we move into the ongoing drama associated there. All that and more coming your way. Make sure you don't miss it. It'll be the Monday edition of Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. We don't get into international news here on the show very often, with good reason. I'm not an expert when it comes to international relations, although I do enjoy reading about them. But you've probably been following the news, CNN, all day long with live updates as explosions have been heard all around Tel Aviv, Israel, as Iran launches counterstrikes on Israel after Israel launched a very targeted strike. They actually, this it kind of doesn't speak well to Israel's ongoing war again, or well, it's not really a war because Gaza isn't really fighting back, but their occupation, if you will, and almost leveling of some parts of Gaza that have been pretty indiscriminate because this was a highly targeted strike. They literally took out an apartment in an apartment building, and they killed Iranian, basically the top of the nuclear program, Hossein Salami, and two other generals killed, punching a hole in Tehran's military leadership building where there were some apartments near the top. And Israel's strikes total killed about 78 people and wounded 320 more in collateral damage at that Iranian military facility. And Israel also attacked a Fordo enrichment plant today. Basically, so this is kind of a three big wins for Israel on Iran's nuclear program. And that now today, Iran has fired back, and we also got news that the U.S. is helping Israel in shooting down those missiles as that retaliatory strike continues throughout the day and well, now night in Israel. And Iranian leaders have promised this is just the start of what they say will be a very aggressive counteroffensive. Yeah, I mean, it's scary stuff, but I bring it up because we do have, just a few minutes ago, a statement released from United States Senator John Curtis. Curtis is a member of the House, served throughout most of his career in the House on the House Foreign Relations Committee, and that immediately launched him to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee after joining the Senate, as being sworn in just this January. Not a common thing, by the way, for a newly elected senator to immediately find themselves on this very important and powerful committee, the Foreign Relations Committee. But again, with his experience in the House for several years on the House Foreign Relations Committee, he was perfect for it. So Curtis is there. He's not a ranking member and won't be for a few years, but he's definitely well respected when it comes to foreign relations in general in Congress because of his experience. And he released a statement a few minutes ago. The statement reads, "Last night, the world witnessed the extraordinary resolve of a nation determined to survive and to prevent Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon," which, interjecting my own words here, that's obviously a shared goal of the U.S. and all of Europe and everyone, not just Israel's goal. But Israel exercised its sovereign right to defend itself against an existential threat. Just yesterday, the International Atomic Energy Agency reported that Iran is not complying with its nuclear non-proliferation obligations. The United States must stand firm with Israel and remain committed to long-term peace and stability in the region. I pray for the safety of our American service members stationed in the Middle East and for the Israeli and Iranian people who suffer because of the Ayatollah's regime. So hints there at calls for regime change, and Israel, for their part, they have released a message basically speaking to the Iranian people, saying you've got to rise up against this Ayatollah. And if you're not familiar with the Iranian government system, there's an elected government, and then there's sort of a religious government, for lack of a better way to put it. And the religious government has the real power. The Ayatollah and his minions basically have the real power in Iran. And so Israel calling on the Iranian people to rise up and overthrow the Ayatollah and that regime and institute real democracy and stop this. So here in the U.S., reaction has been kind of muted. People just kind of watching. There has been some bickering in Congress. A lot of Democrats saying, this is Trump shouldn't have ended the agreement that was keeping Iran away from a nuclear weapon, and accusations that he did that just because he was mad Obama got credit for it. And no new agreement had been put in place that was in the works through the Biden years and the first little bit of the second Trump administration. So no real agreement stood anymore after Trump canceled that one, and so Democrats are criticizing him for that. Republicans are basically saying, that we just need to make sure right now we support Israel and trying to, avoid that probably legitimate criticism from Democrats. That's kind of how I see it playing out here in the U.S. But again, this is a pretty big deal. The Curtis statement goes on to say that, this is obviously something where the U.S. can't remain forever, depending on how far it escalates. He doesn't come right out and say that the U.S. needs to commit to being a part of this if it becomes a full-on war. But Curtis does say, that the U.S., the world, can't, if Iran is serious in their promise to escalate and make a prolonged retaliatory strike on Israel. Curtis kind of says the U.S. and the world can't just stand there and watch, which is 100% true. So scary stuff. This is kind of the thing that pretty much everyone was trying to avoid. But, to put it in perspective, these things have happened before, and they've flared up and died down pretty quickly. Unfortunately, with a lot of civilian deaths in between those days in both Israel and Palestine and Iran and the whole area. So the civilians are the ones that pay for the delusions of grandeur from the leaders, usually. Sad stuff. But if we hear more from John Curtis, no word yet from Senator Mike Lee on this. His office did say, I called earlier to see if they'd released a statement that I just missed, and his office said that the senator is just watching events play out, and they'll have a statement out sometime this weekend. So we'll let you know if we hear more from either of the United States senators. We'll be back with more of KVN News For the People and an early start to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan right after this look at the news with KVN News. We'll feel right.
Well, thank you, Jason. Officials with Cache County announcing the purchase yesterday of over 557 acres of scenic foothill land that'll be located east of Smithfield. Now, this major land purchase, valued at $1.9 million, represents the second major acquisition in the county's ongoing commitment to preserving open space. Now, the property, formerly the Chambers Farm, features rolling hills, sweeping valley views, and diverse terrain well suited for hiking, wildlife, and trail development. Now, County Executive David Zook said this acquisition represents a generational investment in the preservation of open public lands. It also protects a vital natural corridor above Smithfield and provides a critical link for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Now, the land, which is currently zoned for agricultural use, has historically served as grazing and farming area. And law enforcement have arrested two women who allegedly broke into a Logan residence and assaulted one of the occupants. Jamie Nicole Friedley, a 31-year-old, and Mandy Richards Gavench, a 40-year-old, were booked on Wednesday into the Cache County Jail. Now, according to the affidavits of probable cause, Logan City police officers were called to a Logan home on a suspected domestic dispute early on the morning of June 11th. However, upon arrival, they learned two women had come to the victim's residence and forced their way inside. Now, the alleged victim claimed the two women covered her mouth and nose, held her hands down, and struck her repeatedly in the face. Now, the suspects then dragged her outside to the front yard and continued to hit her. Now, the alleged victim's boyfriend reportedly heard the victim scream and ran outside the home, pulling the woman off his girlfriend. Now, he identified the suspects as Friedley and Gavench. According to charging documents, police report the two suspects were related to the alleged victim and were seen running from the area. Police later were able to locate them and take both into custody. And hundreds of protesters gathered in downtown Salt Lake City yesterday at Washington Square Park to stand in solidarity with anti-ICE protesters in Los Angeles. Now, the protests were a taste of what may be coming tomorrow during what's being deemed No King's Day. The protest was mostly peaceful, according to Salt Lake City police officers. Now, a fight broke out early on, and officers said they did usher away one man who was part of the brawl. The protests began about 5:30, and a march took place at around 7. Officers said a majority of those in attendance voiced their concerns peacefully, but there were several agitators who disrupted the crowd, which did lead to about half a dozen minor skirmishes. Well, we've had hot temperatures again today as we'll continue to see this warm trend through the next 7 days. Highs been today into the high 80s. Tonight will drop into the mid-50s, then be in the low 90s tomorrow and Sunday. Low 90s continuing for Monday, then mid-80s for Tuesday and Wednesday. But then next Thursday, wow, 95 degrees possible. And weather this hour, as part of the news, brought to you by Big O Tires. Their Big Worry Less-a-thon going on right now at Big O Tires through June 22nd, where you can buy 3 Big O brand tires and get the 4th tire for free, plus their protection tire warranty with every tire purchase. It's at Big O Tires. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News headlines.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. After an earlier barrage of missiles, the IDF says it's identified missiles launched from Iran again, heading toward Israel. Sirens once again sounding, just as they did hours before, with Israelis sheltering. Iran says it's the beginning of a severe response to Israel's strikes targeting elite military commanders, scientists, and nuclear sites, with the majority of missiles intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defense systems. The U.S. says it's also helping intercept those missiles. ABC's Martha Raddatz has more.
I think that the U.S. is getting ready to defend Israel in any way they can through anti-missile systems on ships and whatever else they can do to try to stop those incoming missiles into Israel and basically back up the Israelis in this sort of effort.
Israel's emergency services says at least 41 people were injured. This is ABC News.
Hey listeners, let's talk comfort. Specifically, how Cardinals insulation can help. Did you know the average home loses up to 35% of its heated or cooled air through the walls and roof? But here's the good news. When you call Cardinals, not only will you feel the difference with a quieter, more energy-efficient home, but you could also qualify for a tax credit up to $1,200. Save money year-round with Cardinals insulation. Call 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is David Kastner at Adams Wealth Advisors. Stock came under moderate selling pressure today following overnight reports that Israel launched strikes targeting Iran's nuclear and military leadership facilities. While the U.S. administration confirmed that it was not involved, it urged Iran to avoid retaliatory actions against U.S. bases in the region and called for renewed engagement in nuclear negotiations. Given the region's vital role in global energy supply, oil prices surged more than 7% on fears of an escalation in hostilities that could disrupt shipping lanes, particularly if the conflict broadens. Although the long-term impact on the markets remains uncertain, today's reaction was meaningful yet contained. By the close, the S&P 500 fell 1.1%. The Nasdaq lost 1.3%, leaving both indexes down about 0.5% for the week. The Dow Jones Industrials average dropped 768 points today to finish at 42,198. In currency markets, the U.S. dollar strengthened against major currencies, often a sign of investor flight to safety and continued confidence in the greenback. Unlike recent increases in Treasury yields that reflected investor hesitation towards U.S. assets, today's move appears to be driven more by shifting Federal Reserve expectations. The spike in oil prices adds to inflationary concerns, potentially lowering the odds of a rate cut this year. As with geopolitical shocks, tensions can trigger short-term volatility, but markets typically stabilize once conditions de-escalate. Thanks for listening. We'll be back Monday with our next 2-minute market update.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. Is Stephen Hooley there?
Yep.
This is Will Feelright. I understand you're a firefighter. Is that right?
Yeah.
Someone contacted us, said Steve is an amazing example of hard work and dedication. He's always willing to go the extra mile for anyone he comes across. And so we thought that deserved a little recognition and a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
For the people. Starting the movie show a bit early this week, Andy Morgan will be with us in just a couple of minutes, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Primarily, we're behind. We've got a lot of summer movie previewing to do. We've got a lot of announcements from the streaming services, from Stranger Things to probably one of the creepiest looking horror movies I've ever seen. A very creepy horror movie in theaters right now called Bring Her Back. Stephen King weighed in on this morning. We'll talk about that. What's in theaters new this weekend? A couple we missed from last weekend while we were off, and more. So Andy Morgan joining us in just a few minutes. But as the music there, if you recognized it, implied, there was big Spaceballs news this week. And it started with very little fanfare and no lead up whatsoever. Mel Brooks on his personal social media pages, both Instagram and a Twitter account, he just posted a link, and it was a YouTube video. And it's most of it is music. In fact, just this, the Spaceballs theme. But as this runs, I'll read it to you. 38 years ago, there was only one Star Wars trilogy, but since then, there have been a prequel trilogy, a sequel trilogy, a sequel to the prequel, a prequel to the sequel, countless TV spin-offs, a movie spin-off of the TV spin-off, which was both a prequel and a sequel. Not to mention, there have been 2 Dunes, 7 Jurassic Parks, 2 Avatars, plus 3 upcoming Avatars, making it a total of 5, 36 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies with 2 different Robert Downey Jr.'s, DCU attempt number 1, DCU attempt number 2, an animated Lion King, a live-action Lion King, a live-action animated Lion King prequel, 8 Harry Potter movies, a TV series remaking the same 8 Harry Potter movies, a whole streaming service for Star Trek, 7 Alien movies, 2 of which were also Predator movies, not to be mistaken for the 6 Predator movies that are not also Alien movies, 1 Prometheus, which was kind of an Alien movie, 4 Beatles movies, and of course a Barbie and an Oppenheimer. But in 38 years, there has only ever been 1 Spaceballs. And then there's a lengthy pause in the video until the words, "Until now," pop up. And this message from Mel Brooks himself.
After 40 years, we asked, what do the fans want? But instead, we're making this movie. May the Schwartz be with you.
It's a real deal. Brooks later confirmed with Hollywood Insider that yes, they are currently right now making Spaceballs 2. They are in pre-production. The release is planned for 2027. And this will be, I think, welcome news for a lot of people because it's kind of an internet thing. People wondering where he went. But Rick Moranis, in one of his first public statements, I think in a decade plus, will be back. He will be back to play the bad guy in the Spaceballs sequel. Rick Moranis, by the way, after announcing that he was making this return to acting in the forthcoming Spaceballs sequel, people pointed out he's 72. He played Dark Helmet, the Spaceballs Darth Vader, in 1987, and he'll reprise that role in the upcoming movie. He mentioned that to Deadline magazine. And Mel Brooks will also star, and it will be Rick Moranis' first movie role in 30 years. Sadly, of course, the one of the funniest voices of Spaceballs has passed away. And so you will not have that Joan Rivers, that classic Joan Rivers voice playing the Spaceballs version of C-3PO, at least in voice. So that's one thing that we will be missing. But yeah, Spaceballs 2, 2027. Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman is back. So everybody's going to be a little aged in this one. And he'll play Lone Star, of course. And Keke Palmer is someone new joining the cast. Brooks, by the way, is 98. And Josh Gad is his co-producer on this one. Gad also spoke with Deadline and announced that it's been 40 years in the works. They've been talking about it since the first one was a success. And Brooks said they just kind of never got around to it. Gad himself, co-producing and co-writing the movie with Brooks, wrote on Instagram, he said, "I was that child who saw Spaceballs actually before I saw any of the Star Wars movies and then wondered why anyone would do a dramatic remake of a Mel Brooks comedy." He said, "I had it backwards until I had it explained to me." He says, "It's therefore the greatest gift of my life to now help take the reins and work alongside Mel and this incredible group to do a sequel to the movie that inspired George Lucas to make the Star Wars films." I laughed pretty hard about that. Moranis, during the interviews after this announcement, was asked, "Hey, man, where you been for 30 years?" And Rick Moranis told Hollywood Reporter, I took a break, and then that just kind of turned into a longer break. And then at a certain point, I realized it's probably a permanent break. He said, I just didn't have the inspiration to come back. He said he was proud of his work in comedies like Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and more. And he did in 2020, in 2020, there was an announcement that Moranis was returning to a reboot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids called Shrunk. And then that whole thing was kind of canceled by the pandemic. But it sounds like that movie is still in the works. And Moranis said, he's still been involved in that. Said he never really intended to leave Hollywood or acting. It just sort of happened. He said, I felt like I needed a break. And then life kind of just happened. And the break became longer. And then pretty soon I realized I don't really feel like going back. But he said when Mel Brooks approached him and said they were officially in pre-production for Spaceballs, would he like to reprise his role as Dark Helmet? Rick Moranis said, I didn't have to sleep on it. I didn't have to think about it. In fact, I don't think I let him finish his sentence before I shouted, yes! So I'm pretty excited about this. No sequel ever lives up to the original. But Brooks has done pretty well with sequels and with movies in general. He's got a particular type of comedy or humor that just hits, especially when he's spoofing something. So I would expect this is going to be pretty funny. As to when in 2027, no exact date yet. But the rumor is it will be June or July, a summer movie in 2027. But Brooks and Gad did confirm that they're in pre-production. They'll begin filming later this year. With Moranis and more, and that it will be ready to go by summer of 2027 at the latest, Mel Brooks said. So, pretty cool news for nerds. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People movie show right after this.
Chim Chimney Fireplace loves to help people make it through the winter and stay warm. Believe it or not, they even help people love the wintertime, but they also love summer because it's the best time to buy a Fireplace Extraordinaire gas fireplace. And now the best brand in the industry has electric fireplace options as well. To celebrate, Chim Chimney is offering free installation through August on any Fireplace Extraordinaire electric fireplace. They also have amazing deals on previous year models. See their newly remodeled showroom in Logan or find them online at chimchimney.com.
This is it, Cache Valley. Camp Saver's final parking lot sale, June 9th through the 14th. Almost 10,000 items, both new and used, with savings up to 90% off. Massive stacks of shoes, racks of apparel, deals for men and women. Tons of camping gear of all kinds. Plus insane deals on ammo, lots of firearm accessories, tactical and hunting gear. First come, first served with new prices daily. When it's gone, it's gone. Just off Highway 8991 next to Cobb's Honeyland, Building 25, Suite 100. Don't miss your last shots, only at Camp Saver.
Hear that? That's not just a noise. It's your transmission asking for help. Before you trade in your ride for a new car and a hefty payment because of higher tariffs, come to Amco Transmissions. They'll get your transmission running smooth, extend your car's life, and save you thousands. Don't ditch your car. Fix it smarter, not pricier. AA MCO. Amco Transmission. 75 East 2000 North, North Logan. Online at amcoutah.com. See store for details.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Saturday at 11 a.m., and I'll tell you where to go and how to get there with the best travel deals on the planet, including how to travel more and pay less, free this and free that promotions, and insider secrets on what the airlines, cruise lines, and hotels don't want you to know, along with your call-in travel questions every Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on News Talk 610 KVNU.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here on this most joyous occasion to witness Princess Vespa, daughter of King Roland, going right past the altar, heading down the ramp and out the door.
One of my favorite scenes in Spaceballs. One of the underrated scenes, but and it's Jeremy Irons, of all people, playing the minister at the wedding. So Spaceballs 2 officially announced yesterday by Mel Brooks. Rick Moranis making his return to films after a 30-year hiatus and more. And that will be out in summer of 2027, Brooks said yesterday via social media posts. So the For the People movie show starting a little bit earlier here because, again, we've got a lot of this entertainment and movie news to get to. It's been a big announcement week. There have also been, there have been some big announcements in the movie world, the streaming world. A little sneak peek at the timeline for Stranger Things fans. A little sneak peek at the timeline for what's going to be the final season, and it's weird. They're doing so next fall or this fall. Final season of Stranger Things on Netflix will start with a 3-episode premiere, and then you'll have to wait a week, and then you'll get 3 more episodes, and then you'll have to wait 2 weeks, and you'll get the final 2 episodes, I think is how it worked. I have no idea why they're doing this. I have to say, as a huge fan of the series, though, I'm glad they're wrapping it up and not stretching it out too far because it is... the kids are getting old. And it's getting harder and harder to find them believable as scared, frightened kids up against these aliens. So, yeah. All right. Coming up on the other side, we'll continue the For the People movie show. We've got Superman news. We've got big announcements in the horror movie world. We've got a long list of movies hitting theaters. We have some movies that hit theaters last weekend, but we were off since I was traveling, so we've got some catch-up to do. There is a lot, to say the least. And, of course, we've got to talk a little bit about the latest news on James Gunn's Superman Legacy. And, well, I won't spoil it yet because I know Andy will want to talk about this too. But it's a pretty exciting time for both the DC and the Marvel universes for comic book film nerds out there. You're going to be excited by some of these announcements this week if you missed them. So check it out. By the way, I've posted a link to a really fun article, a history, if you will, of Superman, how he's been depicted both in sketches and comic books to on the screen, both television and movies over the years. And it's kind of cool to see how the superhero himself has evolved. So a link to that on our Facebook page, and stick around. More of the For the People movie show coming up in hour 2, right after this here on KVNU Logan.